The Young and the Restless spoilers next week October 14th to 18th 2024. The strangely familiar encounter, Amy Lewis, Nate, and hidden secrets. The crowded cafe buzzed with conversations and clinking glasses, but Nate Hastings barely registered the noise around him. He had come here for a moment of solitude, to escape the mounting pressures of his professional and personal life. But as he sat at his table, sipping his coffee, the last person he expected to see approached him, Amy Lewis. Amy was an enigma, someone who Nate had crossed paths with in the past, but never in a way that made him feel comfortable. She was always surrounded by mystery, often popping up with cryptic comments or odd requests that left Nate unsettled. Today was no different. Amy greeted him, her voice a little too sweet, her smile tinged with something unspoken. Nate's expression hardened. "Amy. What do you want?" Amy leaned closer, her eyes gleaming with some hidden knowledge. "I've been thinking about you, Nate. There are a few things we need to discuss. Like those souvenirs I gave you a while back. You remember them, don't you?" Nate frowned, his mind racing. Souvenirs? He had no recollection of Amy ever giving him anything, much less anything that could be considered meaningful. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, his tone clipped. Amy's smile widened, as if she was expecting his confusion. "Oh, I'm sure you'll remember. It's all going to come back to you soon. You'll see." Nate's patience was wearing thin. He had no interest in playing along with whatever game Amy was trying to orchestrate. "Look, Amy, I'm not interested in whatever it is you're trying to pull. I have enough going on right now, and frankly, I don't care about these souvenirs or whatever else you think I should remember." Amy's eyes flashed with something dark, a hint of frustration. "You will care, Nate. And when the time comes, you'll understand exactly why I'm here. But until then, I suggest you keep an open mind." With that, Amy turned on her heel and disappeared into the crowd, leaving Nate feeling unsettled and annoyed. He didn't know what Amy's angle was, but he was certain it wasn't anything good. And he was equally certain he wanted nothing to do with her. Later that day, Nate found himself in yet another uncomfortable conversation, this time with Devon. Nate had been working closely with Victor Newman recently, a collaboration that had raised more than a few eyebrows. And Devon, ever the perceptive one, wasn't going to let it slide without digging deeper. "Nate," Devon began, his tone casual but laced with suspicion, "what's going on between you and Victor? I keep hearing about these meetings and deals, but no one seems to know exactly what you're up to." Nate stiffened. He had hoped to keep his partnership with Victor under the radar, especially since it involved some rather delicate matters. Matters that, if exposed, could unravel his carefully constructed image. "It's just business, Devon," Nate replied, trying to sound nonchalant. "Victor and I have some common interests, and we're exploring a few opportunities together." Devon raised an eyebrow, clearly not satisfied with the vague response. "That's not what I'm hearing. People are starting to talk, Nate. And if you're not careful, someone's going to dig up something you don't want getting out." Nate's stomach twisted with anxiety. Devon was getting too close to the truth, and the last thing Nate needed was for his secrets to come to light. He forced a smile, hoping to deflect the conversation. "There's nothing to worry about, Devon. I've got everything under control." But as Devon studied him, Nate could tell that his cousin wasn't convinced. And that made him nervous. Very nervous. Nikki and Lily's dispute over Chancellor Abbott. Meanwhile, across town, tensions were reaching a boiling point at Chancellor Abbott. Nikki Newman and Lily Winters had found themselves on opposite sides of a bitter dispute over the future of the company. Both women had been under the impression that they were in line to take over Billy's position, but as the weeks went on, it became clear that they were being played. Nikki, always the savvy businesswoman, had begun to suspect that something wasn't right. "We've both been promised the same position, Lily," Nikki said, her voice sharp with frustration. "How is that possible?" Lily, equally frustrated, folded her arms across her chest. "I don't know, Nikki. But it seems like we're being pitted against each other for no reason. This isn't how business should be done." The two women exchanged a tense glance. They had both worked hard to climb the ranks in their respective careers, and now it felt like they were being toyed with. But by whom? That was the question that lingered in both their minds. Victor, Nikki finally said, her voice dropping to a low, conspiratorial tone. He's behind this. I can feel it.
Lily frowned. Victor? What would he have to gain from playing us against each other? Control, Nikki replied simply. Victor thrives on manipulating people, on making sure he's the one pulling the strings. We need to confront him. Together. Lily hesitated, but she knew Nikki was right. If they were going to get to the bottom of this, they needed to face Victor head-on. And that meant working together, despite their differences. Daniel and Chance's heated argument. Back at Daniel's apartment, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Daniel stood across from Chancellor, his face flushed with anger as the detective laid out his suspicions. You're telling me that I'm a suspect in my own wife's murder? Daniel's voice shook with disbelief. This is insane, Chance. I loved Heather. I would never hurt her. Chance's expression remained calm, but there was a coldness in his eyes that made Daniel's blood boil. We're following the evidence, Daniel, and right now you're looking like the prime suspect. You were the last person to see her alive. You had motive. Motive? Daniel repeated, incredulous. What motive? Heather and I had no problems. We were happy. Chance shrugged. That's not what some of the people I've talked to have said. There were rumors about tension between you two, about disagreements over custody of Lucy. Daniel clenched his fists, fighting the urge to punch the wall. Rumors? That's all you've got? Rumors? That's not evidence, Chance. That's gossip. But Chance wasn't backing down. It's more than just rumors, Daniel. We have enough to bring you in for questioning. And trust me, once we start digging, we'll find more. Daniel glared at him, his voice low and dangerous. You're making a huge mistake, Chance. If you really think I killed Heather, then go ahead. Arrest me. But you better have more than just some weak, secondhand stories. Chance didn't flinch. You'll get your day in court, Daniel, and we'll see where the evidence leads. Sharon's manipulation of Chance. What Daniel didn't know, however, was that he was walking right into Sharon Newman's trap. Sharon had been quietly orchestrating the entire investigation, pulling strings behind the scenes to ensure that Daniel took the fall for Heather's death. Sharon had always been good at manipulating people, and Chance was no exception. She had carefully planted seeds of doubt in his mind, feeding him just enough information to make Daniel look guilty while keeping herself out of the spotlight. And now, with Chance convinced of Daniel's guilt, Sharon was ready to watch it all play out. Her plan was simple: get Daniel locked away, and no one would ever find out the truth. The truth that it was Sharon who had been involved in Heather's death, albeit unintentionally. But as long as Daniel was the one taking the blame, Sharon's secrets would remain buried.